All right, we are back in studio today. We're lucky enough to be in studio with Brian Case, who is the founder and CEO of Direct Wealth Care. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excited to have you. You came down, even though we were both tempted to not show up today because there's a bunch of new snow in the mountains
Finally.
for the first time in months.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It really hasn't been that bad up there.
yeah,
It just down here, we're not getting any snow, and the reports aren't great up there. So everybody's piling on and just not showing up. So Alta's been beautiful, frankly.
it hasn't been busy.
It just feels like there's no winter because there's no winter down here, which is what we're used to in the valleys.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, I'm sure the mountains are still okay. Not perfect, but okay.
Yeah, Little Cottonwood's good. Big Cottonwood's okay, and then there's poor Park City.
Park City. Yeah, it's been a
it
mess
is
up
bleak
there.
up there.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have you. I'm excited to hear your story. We've been friends for a while now,
Yeah.
and I know a little bit. I know, little bits and pieces, but I'm excited to hear the whole thing. So, why don't you start us out with a 30-second pitch on what you're doing with Direct Wealth Care?
Yeah, so direct wealth care is kind of the culmination of everything I've been working on for the last 25 years. It's basically addressing personal financial stress for physicians and other healthcare professionals. Because what we learned is that financial stress is this taboo subject nobody knows how to talk about, but it's about a third of the stress that most people feel, physicians especially, because the high income doesn't fix the high stress.
And this is a personal mission to you, Brian, because your wife is a physician, so you feel it personally, right? That's
Yeah,
where
I
it's
mean
coming from.
it's primarily my 25 years in serving other physician families because I'm not worried about my wife. I think she's got me and we've got kind of our act together. But watching physician families over 25 years, you realize that they go to school for 15 years longer than the rest of us. They put their heads down, learn how to take care of themselves, not take care of us, and then they get out of training um, way behind the curve socially. They would like a house, they'd like a car that starts, and they start accumulating even more debt than they accumulated during school. And the whole time we're calling them rich doctors,
It's
society.
almost a social pressure thing, isn't it?
It's huge, yeah, because I've told everybody since they decided to go into medicine that they were going to take care of other people. And for them to change that anywhere along the way is really tough. But what they learn pretty early on is what they signed up for is not the current healthcare environment.
So it's an income issue with the doctors. Is that what you're saying?
It's a debt to income issue for most of them. So residents getting out of training now can have three, four, $500,000 in debt. And this whole time that they've been accumulating school debt, they assumed everything is going to be fine because they borrowed the money just fine. And everybody said you're going to make plenty of money to pay it back. But the math doesn't work really well when you're also in school for 10 years longer or training
Right.
for 10 years longer. So now that's compressed. We were all saving money, hopefully, since we started working. And these folks are living at the poverty level during that whole training and accumulating debt and like to have a family. Some of them start having families in training. So by the time they get out, there's this pent up need to catch up. And at the same time, everybody's saying everything's fine. One of the biggest and worst examples is there's banking programs out there that you can get a physician home loan. All you have to do is be a physician. There's very little underwriting. So there's nobody, including them, looking at whether they should or shouldn't do this. They just say, hey, I'm a MD, go to Key Bank, and nothing against Key Bank, to be clear, but um, there's not enough, there's just not enough education there to point them
So
in
it
the right
puts them in a
direction.
bad spot.
It puts them in a bad spot, and then they usually put their heads down because they are hard workers, and if they got to where they were being a physician, they can kind of suck it up and get through a lot. So they put their heads down until they're 50 or 55, and then the good outcomes is when somebody asks for help. So that was my favorite part of the job is when somebody came into me in traditional wealth management, we could kind of say, we can help you manage out of this. Because they wake up and they're still paying off their school loans. They want to send their kids to college. They just assumed all that would be fine. They've got too much of a house, too many cars, go down the list, and they finally wake up and say, I don't want to do this till I'm 80. So how do I get out of it? The good ones we can help work out of it. The bad scenarios are the ones that get so frustrated that they want to quit, but they can't tell society that they're not going to be doctors anymore. And that's where the suicide rates peak, is age 50 to 55.
Well, it almost seems as well like, I mean, I've got one of our renters, one of our properties is he's, finishing up school at the College of Medicine. And he is confided, I won't say his name or anything, but he's confided in me that, he is going to be okay to be a doctor. It's okay. Like he's
Yeah,
fine to be a doctor, but it's not his passion. He's like, honestly, there's nothing else I can do at this point, and
yeah.
there's no other direction I can go. So it's almost like you're stuck
That's
in
exactly the
that
feeling, is you
one
feel
thing.
stuck
Yeah.
and you can't see the options. You're too close to it yourself. And then it's also, that goes back to that taboo subject. They don't even know, they don't even have the language. Most of society doesn't have good financial language because we're not doing a good job elementary, middle, or high school, right? But the physicians are even worse because they decided early on to just focus on whatever they're
Medicine.
doing.
Yeah.
And what makes it even worse, and this is why everybody thinks physicians are arrogant, and some of them are, some people are arrogant, but most physicians just don't know how to act when they're not the expert in the room. They spent 10 or 15 years in their OR or in their exam rooms being the expert. You take them out of that and start throwing words at them that they don't understand, and they don't know how to act like socially. So they come across as arrogant. They're smart. If you educate them, then they'll pick it up quickly. I mean, it's just words and concepts. It's not a big deal. They're the quickest learners we have. But
I never thought about that stress. That probably is very real to them, isn't it?
yeah, I was lucky. The physician who was training my wife was a partner in my bike shop. I guess this is going on 30 years ago. I hate saying that, but he pulled me aside one day because I was already in personal finance and we were really close. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, "Look, just let us off the hook. We think we should know this stuff."
Mm.
And it comes down to language. I mean, the best joke in my little slide deck is, guys like me, we're taught Greek. Everything in finance is Greek. These guys are taught Latin, right? And we're supposed to communicate. They're supposed to understand us. I'm lucky I understand both because that's been my world since my grandpa. My grandpa was a doc, so I grew up in that little world, and now I'm married to a doc. But most people don't have both sides of that. So that's where this whole thing's turned from being my thing I felt I should do with like the next chapter for my career. I felt like I should try to have a bigger impact than I could with all the conflicts of interest we have in wealth management. Then it turned into my mission about the time I got out here. And now I wake up with it as a responsibility because there's only, I'm not the only one, but there's only a handful of us that live at that like authentic cross section of personal finance and healthcare, which you need authenticity on both sides to get anything done.
Fascinating.
Interesting.
So how did you, Brian? This is such an important mission and very very unique. I mean, very specialized. It's very straight line, right? And you've been purposeful and intentional in making sure that it was concise. Your mission, right? Medical and the financial world, blending them together,
Yep.
right? So how did you get into this? Kind of give us a little bit of your background and how it led you to this point right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like anything else. You get lucky along the way.
Or unlucky in some cases,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
and it was a lot of work. You guys know I used to own bicycle shops, and a friend of mine,
What's your favorite brand, by the way? I'm just curious.
right now, Pivot.
Pivot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good to know.
It changes over the years, right?
Sure.
Um, the in my bike shop days, I had a partner in the shop that was actually introduced to me by the doctor I just mentioned. And we got to know each other. He trusted me, and he ended up selling his limited partnerships, rolling them up into a real estate investment trust, and sold them to Equity Residential. So the joke is he went from having a bunch of toilets to a pile of cash, and in retrospect, he tapped me to help him start a family office, which I liked a lot. It was a lot of fun helping him and his family get organized and understand this stuff. And I decided to pivot from the bike shop, which I never really got away from, but full time, and started down this financial services route, and got really lucky and worked for a veteran in the industry who happened to be endorsed by one of the local medical associations. So kind of lived in that world and ended up in that world. So I got very comfortable talking to physicians and other healthcare folks
And a lot of this was taking
finance.
place in New England area, right?
Yeah, this is all Massachusetts
Yeah.
and Connecticut. Yeah. So lucky found Bob, who was my mentor for 5 years. I kind of outgrew that and decided I wanted to learn more about insurance. So I made the lucky mistake of joining the general agency for Mass Mutual, and I learned a lot. Biggest thing I learned is I don't want to do that because it's a sales racket.
Yeah.
I mean, we need
It's almost multi-level,
insurance.
but not multi-level, right?
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
It's anybody who's listening that wants the skinny on
Reach out
insurance.
directly.
Happy to talk about it. I mean, we need insurance. Mass Mutual is a great company. It's the sales process that's just not quite right. Anyway, learned a lot and got lucky there and ended up within Mass Mutual starting my own registered investment advisory firm, which you can't do anymore. But back then it was something that you could do, and ended up with my own little company focused on physicians because that was my world. And mostly that in those days focused on my family because I had married a doc and one of us needed to be flexible, right? So back then it was me. The joke always was, if one of the kids was sick, like who's going to cancel their day to take care of the kid? Her and 40 patients or me and two clients? So I got to be dad, three boys. Um, I've had a blast with them and ended up with a great relationship because of that time that I got to spend with them as kids. Once they started needing me less, the business kind of naturally grew. Could spend more time on it, and spent 25 years in what I think of as very traditional wealth management. The only thing that was really special is that we understood um, the plight of the physician. We understood how to really help them, really connect with them. And it took me a few years to realize I needed to move on because I didn't want to break promises to all these people that we had, built a company to serve. Um, but I finally saw what I needed to do, which was drop all those conflicts of interest, so that I could have a bigger impact. So that, the problem with the wealth management industry is it all feels like sales,
Mhm.
right? It all feels like you want to buy this product or that product or this investment or whatever, and it's true. In order to get people to act, you need to sell them. The problem is most of the industry is what I think of as bad sales, selling something that benefits you, the person who's selling it. Good sales is getting people to do things they wouldn't otherwise do. That's good for them.
I'm glad you said that, Brian, because I, having met with many financial planners and advisors and analysts and things, it does feel like it's an industry that sells first,
Yeah.
service second, or sells first and then even product or outcome second, which I think is backwards, is from what it should be.
Yeah, especially for the people in our society that are taking care of us. I get, I don't know, pinged all the time because what we do would be great for athletes. Like the things that we can do for a family. I just have a hard time caring about athletes, and I used to be one, but
And
if
let's
I'm
be honest, you still are. You still do a lot of skiing
yeah,
and biking and things.
no, but that's
I
why.
followed you down a ton of trails. I
Yeah.
know I know you're an
You
athlete.
got game still, Brian. Let's go.
But I have a hard time. I just have a hard time getting excited about helping them, knowing the plight of the physician, right? So,
For sure.
um,
It's cool that you're following a passion. It's not
yeah,
just dollar driven for you. Like you could make a lot of money teaching athletes these principles,
yeah,
but it's more of a passion play.
And it's a sector that's underserved, which I think you've pinpointed well.
oversold and underserved
Right.
Mm.
because they are high income
Yeah.
and they are financially literate, and that's when I go to the theme of Midnight Founders. The thing that I struggled with for a year is that when I'm one on one with somebody, um, I can say, hey, that's a literacy problem. Like, let me teach you what I just said, because I can tell if I talked over you or not, right? You can tell if you're communicating with somebody. So, one on one for 25 years, I got away with calling it literacy. I decided to have a bigger impact, and I'm walking around talking about financial literacy being a problem with physicians. Not sure why they didn't like being called illiterate. Um, But it finally dawned on me in conversation with somebody. I said out loud, the real problem is it's a taboo subject. Like people don't know how to talk about it. So they don't even have the words to talk about it. That makes it a taboo problem. And everybody that I was talking to shook their heads. It was like the opposite of the reaction I had when I was calling it a literacy problem. And ever since then, it's just taboo. We lead with taboo. Everybody can say yes to it. And I have a great joke because I'm married to an OB. So our joke in our house is all we talk about is sex and money because she's an OB, she's an OB and I'm a CFP, and so I don't know why everybody else has such trouble talking about
Like, what's wrong with
it.
everyone else? Come on, we
Those
got
are
this
the two
down.
big taboo subjects. Right?
That's awesome. Well, Brian, this is really cool to have you on the show, to kind of help us understand more about what you're doing. And I see on your shirt that, direct wealth care, but it's powered by Saveology.
Yeah,
And Saveology is also part of my history with Rev Road and things. Tell us how Saveology fits into this whole equation.
yeah. So let me take one little step back because
For sure.
it'll clear it up. But when I decided I wanted to, this was my mission, direct wealth care. The first thing I did was spend time aligning myself with some of the biggest brands in the industry, to get that credibility. So I spent about 18 months um, working with the Wellbeing Index, which is this Mayo Clinic research-backed assessment that's the gold standard in physician and clinician healthcare. Um, that was when I started working with them. I wasn't quite sure what they needed. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, but I didn't know what they needed. And then at the same time, I moved to Utah, and got connected with Rev Road and Darren in particular. The way he does, he just saw something, and what he saw was Saveology struggling to get where they wanted to go. Me understanding my industry and him understanding my mission, put the two of us together, dropped us on our head, didn't really tell us what he saw or what to do, which is, again, my version of Darren. Um, but I started to get to know Spencer, the founder.
Who's been on the show, actually?
Yeah,
An
yeah,
episode, I don't remember what number it was, but it
Early
was,
on,
yeah,
yeah,
sub
60 or
100.
65. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. He's been trying to have. When I met him, he built a wonderful product. He's a product guy, and it's truly impactful when it's in the right hands. The issue is getting it into the right hands for people. Um, and I was able to come in and kind of with fresh eyes say, well, maybe we should do this with it. And the this back then was, I come from the advisor world. Advisors could use this in a bunch of different use cases. And frankly, I put my head down and thought about it like that. I remember the day that I realized, oh, like this is what I need to do for physicians because this is what they need. And the key with Saveology is it's not just another planning platform or another education platform. It has a middle layer that has a learning management system. And the reason that's important is that if a physician or any other specialist starts using one of these financial planning programs, tools, and it doesn't feel like it's for them, they stop, right? So, as physicians, the best example, if you're going through an education process and your your process talks about $6,000 of credit card debt being a problem, which it is for your average American, um, they shut down because they're worried about two, three, $500,000 of student debt. And what do we do about that?
That feels too small to them.
Yeah, it's the wrong education. So that's the reason that we call out physicians as being so different. The joke in our company is you can't talk to a physician and a nurse using the same language because you lose both of them. They both work in the same OR or in the same, exam room, but their lives are so different. The reason they're there is so different that if you just say, hey, I'm looking to serve healthcare, you're saying nothing to them because they both say, well, that's not me, right? I'm not a physician. I'm not a nurse. I'm not an APP. So to go back to our partnership that's most important to get this mission done is with the Wellbeing Index. And what they've done is they've researched 8 different categories, eight different roles in healthcare, all separately. So it's physicians and nurses and APPs and pharmacists and dentists, medical students, fellows, and residents. So that gives us kind of clear direction in each of those niches to say, okay, what do we need to bring to each of them? And then we go in on the back of their research, which gives us a lot of credibility. And it's valid. I mean, it's really good stuff. But the biggest thing is it gets us started with some trust and credibility. And then we can bring in our resources, which is where Saveology comes in because we can customize that middle layer of Saveology to be specific to each of those roles. So I remember the day that was clear to me. It probably took me 3 or 5 months of working with Spencer to figure it out. And then it took me another 3 or 5 months to convince him that we needed to narrow our focus because he's a save the world kind of guy. And he really built this thing to scale and really help as many people as we could. But it's really hard to help everybody. It's hard to help everybody in healthcare, never mind the world.
The
So
world, yeah.
it took us a little while, but we came to terms on that. And then just recently, 3 or 5 months ago, I took over as CEO um, because we've narrowed the focus of the company. Um, and he has a perfect position for himself at another local company at Motivosity, where he can be his product guy and really stay in his lane and manage the product. And yeah, no, it's been fun working. It's been fun in that transition. A lot of people look at me like you kicked Spencer out. Like, what'd you do? What'd you do?
You're like,
um,
no, not at all.
no, it's the opposite. It's a lot of fun to work with him now because he's in his element. He's the chairman of the board for us. I meet with him a couple of times a week. Like, he has not checked out. It's the opposite. He now has time and mind space to actually,
He's almost
really
able to have
involved.
more influence on the company now in that role than before. Is that right?
Engage in the way he wants to engage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Not
Well
awesome.
the
said.
day-to-day stuff, not all the
Yeah.
stuff that, we get stuck, especially as founders, we get stuck doing everything. And he was in that everything mode when I met him. And to be clear, it's only been 5 months. He's still doing a lot of the stuff that people assume I would be doing, but we're working together on that because he wants me to focus on bringing the company forward. So if it's, we had a payroll problem yesterday and I didn't even struggle with it. I didn't even bother. I just talked to him and he fixed it because he has been doing it for
He
5
knows it.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I mean, I think this is a great example for our audience, Brian, to see that, to move a company forward, sometimes you really have to refine your ICP, refine who your audience is. I think what you said earlier is so critical and we glossed over it, but to serve everyone is serving no one,
Yeah.
really. And so I think this is
One size fits no one.
Right.
exactly. Yeah, and I think that you've done a great job in really helping, direct wealth care and then Saveology at the same time do that and stay really focused on one niche
Yeah.
first and dial that in first.
Yeah. No, I got lucky because back in my wealth management days, I didn't see it then. I was just focused on physicians because I knew them. That just was your natural market. That's what you call it in that industry. But looking back on it, trying to decide what to do going forward, I was successful alongside folks that said they served healthcare that weren't successful. And it was because they were hedging their bets, right? So what they thought they were doing is saying, well, I'll work with nurses and physicians and anybody who's in healthcare, and that feels like a niche. In a lot of industries, maybe it is. Not when you have education problems, not when you have such a difference between in that population. A physician, the biggest issue we're addressing actually that kind of comes back to this is, healthcare is a mess, right? Health insurance
We all know
has
this.
made it
Yes.
made it a disaster, and that's another whole show.
Well, and just on that topic, really quick, I mean, you were at the summit or
Yeah,
the summit
Mark.
last week, right? Were you able to see that conversation with Klump and with Mark Cuban and
Yeah,
moderated by Tyler Jennings? I mean, that was a fantastic
yeah,
conversation.
it was awesome.
I hope it can, plant seeds and we can make progress in that direction.
Well, the reason I went is because I wanted my wife to see. We're actually talking to Mark Cuban's group about what we're doing.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because he has Cost Plus drugs, which everybody knows about,
Right.
but he also has Cost Plus wellness. So he's basically shining that same light that he's done with in pharmacy on what I'm talking about, which is fixing healthcare. So I've spent a lot of time saying I have no idea how to fix healthcare, but what I finally realized is by empowering physicians, they've been disempowered, right? But by empowering them, I'm doing it with, on the financial side, which is probably a third of the problem. We've started 2 other companies, one called Direct Self Care and the other one's Direct Practice Care. And it's Direct Practice Care that we're working on with Cuban's group. And I totally stumbled on it, totally lucky, but we've ended up in co-investing in the same film that's coming out in April called Suck It Up Buttercup. And because of that relationship, well, I started talking to their group to see if they could be helpful. And I didn't understand how much they had already built. I mean, this guy's a builder. This guy is just sees what he's going to do and just does it. And part of it is he has the funds to go do it, but that's really only part of it. He puts his head down and gets stuff done.
And he can see the problem and come up with real solutions to solve that
And see
problem.
past the problem.
That's
So many
right.
of us that are stuck, everybody thinks you need health insurance to have health care. And that's where our society is. If you walk into a doctor's office, the front desk is trained to ask you for your health insurance card. And if you say you don't have one,
They don't know what to do really.
they don't know what to do, and you feel like you don't belong there. Now, the reality is every physician's office has a cash price. They have to. I mean, that's kind of the basis of their business is what is the cash price if somebody doesn't have insurance. People don't know to ask for it because we're brainwashed to have a Blue Cross Blue Shield card to get health care. And it's one of the things that Mark's group is doing is breaking that mold and saying, hey, there's a cash price for everything. There's a cash price for drugs. There's a cash price for everything in healthcare.
And it's a third, if not more.
It's
I
a
mean,
tenth or 100th.
yeah,
It's
it's
disgusting.
so much less.
Yeah, yeah. And the only folks that are benefiting from it are the commercial insurance companies. So, my ultimate goal with all of this is to empower these physicians that are still independent to stay independent and practice medicine on their own terms. And the only way we're going to do that is to get them out of the health insurance system that is abusing them and they're feeding. Most of these physicians, especially family practice folks, they're seeing 40 or 50 patients a day, which is 2 every 15 minutes. And it's usually on a 3 to 6 month lag. Like if you call your doc, I don't know if you have what you're doing for a physician, but usually it's 3 to 6 months to get in and you see him for 7 minutes. That's not healthcare, it's sick care. Right. And that's not helping us. I mean, we're in the worst health to Cuban's point. We are in the worst as a society, the worst health we've ever been in.
And we spend the most.
We're spending the most money.
That's right.
It's insane. And it's all going to these insurance companies.
That's right.
And what people don't understand is that there's a very simple way around it. But it's different. Like I had this long conversation with a business partner of mine, and we own an insurance company. So this guy should know. He knows the words, right? It's a property and casualty insurance company, but the premise is the same. Money in, money out, and
have the money for claims and invest the
it's
rest.
the same thing. But
yeah.
What his final objection to not having health insurance was not that he couldn't afford it. It's what do I tell my daughter who just had a baby when she goes to the pediatrician? Because they're going to say, where's your insurance card? And the answer is give them your debit card or give them an app with money on it. I mean, there's so many solutions out there. Sean last night was telling me about you have Savos Health now. As were they on as a
yeah, they've
guest?
been on. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're fixing what's broken about healthcare. And it's breaking the mold around traditional health insurance.
Are you guys partnered with them?
Oh, no, I need an introduction to them.
We have happy to make it.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
Lou and
We have
Jake are
partners
building a
like
really
them.
cool company.
Yeah, they're doing some really cool things.
Yeah.
And they're growing quite a bit now. I think
Yeah.
they finally hit their stride.
I don't know how I haven't met them because we have a half a dozen partners like
You run
them.
in the same circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm what I realized when Sean was telling me last night is that circle that I'm running in is not Utah centric. Like it's more of my old world kind of connections than my new connections. So I'm excited to meet them because from what Sean told me and what the little bit that I read on their website, they're doing exactly what we need. And they've got a different footprint than some of the other folks we have.
Great.
Yeah.
Happy to make that intro.
Yeah. So sorry, we just went from direct wealth care all the way down to the root of the problem. But, the fact is those are the folks that can change medicine because they're still in control of how patients are taken care of. And the reason I called my companies direct, self-care, whatever, is out of respect for the movement to direct primary care. Have you guys spent any time looking at DPC?
I have not as
Yeah.
much. No, tell
So
us. Give the audience a little taste of what that looks
Yeah,
like.
I mean, the punchline is if you're in traditional health insurance and you want to get in to see a doc and it's not an emergency, it's 3 to 6 months, and you're going to be lucky to have a quick appointment, maybe even with a PA, not your doc. I could text John right now, and his question is going to be, do you want to come in now? Do you want to come in later? Or do you want me to stop by on my way home? And it's because most primary care physicians have 3, 4, even 5,000 patients in their panel. So they've got a whole population to try to take care of.
And how do you even know who you don't know them on a
No, I mean,
personal
they take
level.
good records, and
Yeah,
I mean, I'm shocked at what physicians can remember because they care about it, right? I mean,
sure,
they're not just in there processing, paper.
sure,
But 3, 4,000 people, that's where you get to 3 to 6 month lag for 7 minutes at a time.
sure.
What direct primary care doctors are doing is saying, I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm going to have my own patients. I'm going to have 500 or 600 patients, and I'm going to spend way more than 7 minutes with them. Like my biggest complaint about my doc is that I can't get in and out of there in less than an hour. And it's not because I'm waiting. It's because that's what the appointments take to be thorough.
Yeah.
Um, People don't even know that that exists. And one of the problems is they think it's like concierge medicine, which is tens of thousands of dollars or more. And it's for rich folks. Direct primary care docs, the price ranges are all over the map. It's a subscription model. Um, I've seen it as low as $80 a month. We pay $250 for our entire family of five, and they all get treated the same way. And the reason they can do that is, yeah, they have 500 or 600 patients, but there's no insurance.
Amazing.
All the money we pay him goes to cover his business, run his business, and pay him. He makes about twice as much money as he used to make. He has as much time off as he wants because he's not getting, you thrown around by the insurance company.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, let's look at how this works logistically. I mean, you have to have an entire staff in your office for the billing aspect just alone. You don't get paid for 90, 120 days, or more, right? And then when you do, it's much less than what you thought it was going to be, right? And so it is a broken system. I recently was talking to I was having a conversation, and a neighbor has stage 4 cancer, and it's really sad
Yeah.
and discouraging, but it would help so much if that doctor could go to the home, to the bedside, and help with a couple things at the bedside. But they literally cannot even go into the homes of their patients, just insurance reasons of some sort. I'm not sure all the intricacies, but how sad, how far have we regressed because we can't do those simple, commonsensical things just because health insurance doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
So I think what
Well,
you're
and
saying
people
is
think
exactly
that's the
right.
hard stop too. What the shame of it to me is that our healthcare system is being gate kept by the 23-year-old customer service rep at an insurance company who's just doing their job.
That's right.
They're just denying claims or saying, you know, we'll call you back or whatever, because these big insurance companies are making millions of dollars a day on interest for the premiums that they're sitting on. You know,
It's the time value of money, really.
yeah, it's. I mean, the way insurance works, people don't understand is in order for it to be considered insurance, you basically have to collect a premium and return all or more of it to your whoever you're insuring. Otherwise, they're not taking any risk and they're not an insurance company. That's not how they make their money. Most insurance companies have this thing called a combined ratio, which is higher than one, which means they're returning more than they've collected. That's how they qualify for all the tax benefits of being an insurance company. At the same time, they're investing in real estate. They're investing in lots of great stuff, which frankly is not that's not a bad model. But then when they start denying claims and making things too complicated and putting gatekeepers in, it's just turned into this mess. I found out uh, my son's girlfriend's sister had stage 4 rectal cancer, 23 years old.
Oh, so sad.
And the whole thing, all the care was all being gate kept literally by that 23-year-old poor, poor girl that didn't know how to get this family the care that they needed because what her job said, you can't do it. And what they didn't know is that they can send their chart to the Mayo Clinic and say, what would you do? They don't even know to do that. And what I finally said to her is, you got to be mama bear. Like, you got to. There is no is not the answer ever. a situation like that.
It's so funny you say that. The rule in our house with my wife is any bill that comes into our home, we question it, we call on it, we, second guess it at least 3 times
Yeah.
because they're always wrong. And you're always paying more than you're supposed to. And everyone just pays them. And so they get away with it. And it's not the right thing. So our system is very broken. And I'm glad to see that, direct wealth care and Power by Psychology is helping to solve that problem because it is a big, I mean, I loved what Cuban said last week. He said, this is the problem that could sink our country
It's
financially.
sinking it. It's not
Right.
good.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not addressed, right,
Soon.
it's on the way to doing that.
Yeah.
So I love that this is the problem to solve, one of the biggest problems we have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited and daunted all at the same time. But the cool thing is our mission is attracting people like him to help. Like that was not on my radar a year ago. Like,
Well, and it was cool to see them on stage, Chris Klump and
yeah.
Mark Cuban kind of sparring back and forth
Yeah.
in a good way. I think we need to have more of those healthy debates. And the government's trying to do something very similar with, the Trump initiatives that are in place. And if they could use that as kind of competition for each to get better, I think we'll have a really good system very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we need healthy competition. And again, my mission, my soapbox is let's help the caregivers that are getting abused by the system that they're feeding. Like if we can fix that, that's the front door of healthcare.
Yeah.
If we can fix that, then a lot of the other things just have to be fixed.
Right.
So how specifically are you helping those first responders?
The physicians.
Yeah.
Well, just to be clear, our society doesn't consider a physician a first responder,
Right.
which is sad to me every time I come across a discount for
First
first
responders.
responder and it's not a physician. Like you can't, I don't get that. So that's a weird aside, but
Right.
it bothers me as the husband of a doc. I guess it's because society assumes they can afford,
Right.
they're rich doctors. Um, Specifically, what we're doing, besides helping to empower them and have the language of finance and make better financial decisions, direct self care evolved from direct wealth care is basically a mental and emotional layer. And there's a lot of that out there already, but all of the mental and emotional stuff avoids personal finance. So what we're doing is embedding personal finance in traditional well-being tools,
Interesting.
because it's still too much of a taboo subject for a lot of people. I think of it like going for the jugular. Like I want to talk to everybody about money, and it turns some people off. So direct self-care evolved from that. It's a daily check-in app that basically aggregates all of the disparate well-being initiatives that are out there. We brand it so that community can give it to their entire community for free. And then there's kind of upgrade paths in there because one of the biggest issues in physician well-being is that physicians are rightfully so worried that if they ask for help, they're going to lose their license or their job. In some states, they can lose their license, but everywhere they're worried about their job. So can you imagine everything we just talked about? And now some 50-year-old doc knows that they need therapy. They know that they need a counselor. But if they use their insurance for it, they're getting ratted out. It's going to be in their chart. There's not enough cash pay.
Dang.
I never
Or-
thought about that.
Yeah.
That is a
Interesting.
problem.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
great foundation, that's called the Dr. Lorna Breen Foundation. That's addressing it state by state because it's all state law. That is the problem.
But aren't those records, they're protected? It's privacy. But I
To
guess
a point.
it's in that same realm though, so they are going to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, and a lot of it is a worry that's unfounded. So there is a movement to fix this.
Mm.
But I can tell you, talking to physicians, it's not worth the risk. Not worth the risk of us being wrong or something changing or something getting leaked. Because I mean, you think about typical physician family. There's a lot of dual income families, but there's a lot of single earners. Um, if you're making $500,000 a year and that's supporting your family and sending your kids to college, and that goes away, you're not going to take that risk for yourself. You're going to go down with the ship on that one. So that's what's going on. With direct self-care, all the resources we have are anonymous. There's no place even to sign in. And then we have a whole bunch of cash pay options for things like that. Not only is cash pay not on your insurance record and stuff like that, but it's a quarter, tenth the price and you can get right in. If you're gonna, if the sad joke about a physician is if you ever need to get in to see a physician and you're gate kept by the insurance company, call the office, say, what's the cash price and when you can get me in? And the cash price is going to be a fraction of what you think it's going to be, and they'll get you in tomorrow because they know as a business owner that you're going to pay the day
Some
you
money
walk
right
in.
in. Yeah.
Like, we don't have to worry about billing. We don't have to worry about billing codes. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Just so anyway, that's what we're doing with direct self-care, is putting more tools out there, kind of shining a light on the ones that are accessible, and just, trying to have some
Making it more
leverage there.
approachable.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
embedding personal finance in there is a big deal because a lot of people don't tie back how they're feeling or what's going on to finance. Like the typical issue with a physician, where we had a big impact in wealth management, is to be able to say to them, cut down 1 day a week. And the initial reaction is, I can't afford to do that, right? That it's not, I can't afford to do it. My partners won't let me. I mean, go down the list of all those. But when you show it to them and you say, well, if you work 2 years longer because you're working on your terms, then you caught up,
Mm.
right? And people don't think like that. They need to see it. So we're embedding things like that.
That's a really interesting concept.
That's awesome.
Mm.
I haven't come up with a better term than Trojan horse for it yet, but it is some version of embedding that. And then that evolved to direct practice care, which is, I think, where we're going to have the biggest impact, is direct, direct practice care at the core is a PEO. You guys know what a PEO?
For sure.
Yeah. So um, the biggest risk that these small physician practices are taking is business risk, because they're probably out of compliance with their payroll. They're probably out of compliance with, all the OSHA, all the basic stuff of running a business, because they've got their head down just practicing medicine, and they don't really know how to be business owners. So they take risks that they don't even understand. So we have a PEO that's built specifically for physician practices. The woman who runs it for us, she used to run medical practices, so she totally understands it. And it's really simple. All we're doing is saying, instead of being the employer and taking all that risk, especially being a deep pocket, like society looks at them as a deep pocket, so let's go sue them, see what happens. Take that off of the physician and put it on the PEO.
You're outsourcing all of your employees and all your everything.
Just everything. And you get economies of scale,
That's
right? So, you go to a lot of people go to a PEO not just to avoid business, or not to avoid business risk, because they don't think about it like that. They go there for access to health insurance,
Mm-hmm.
or access to 401k, because you're a small employer, so that's how you do it. The biggest thing is a business risk for physicians, dentists, and orthodontists. So that's what direct practice care is at the core. And then our differentiator, because a PEO is a commodity, the differentiator is that we don't try to tell them how to manage their business, but we do bring them well-being tools and resources. And so far, we're the only ones doing that. So we'll see.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Brian, anything else that you wanted to get out to our audience that would be helpful? Just for you and what you're building.
I can't think of anything else, but I do hope people think more about the difference between needing health insurance and needing health care, because we all just walk around thinking of it as one thing, and it's not. And as long as we all think about it as being a health insurance thing, we're going to be stuck here.
Love that. Where can they find out more information about you and what you're doing and the companies you're building?
Best thing is directwealthcare.com. From there, you can see pretty much everything we have going on. LinkedIn is great for me because it's got all my everything that's going on.
Okay.
Brian Case.
Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Yeah,
It's been
thanks
fun.
for having me, you guys.